waneno chenchano dipo malo magin gitika choyo ko ikom anyua magitika karotutwal ikomon matie kingolo. But before I bring in Ismail Jacobs, memini wa report enemy. I have seen mon malungola in the streets of Kampala, Uganda, all over, men taking advantage of them. You see these women pregnant and ask where are the men? Some of them are raped, some of them are just assaulted, and whatsoever, they are taking advantage of part. Just in a minute before I get this video on board.
Charo Timatek, Toro Tuero Timatek, Waro Matieti, Pe Ikomon Matikingono. It's not only in Gulu, not only in northern Uganda.
It's the entire country.
It's an entire country. The entire country is locked up in the same situation. And it is high time we forge ways on how we can help our brothers and sisters with disability.
Okay, specifically here we are talking about the sisters. Now let Lewanen Kong report ma Ismail Jacob okatekereki Gulu City maki waini kino enanywa eni matiku mon matekutwal ka dugu with furthermore interactions.
Tim man tika dium matekutwan mon magin kitika kwa ngolo Igulu district mole auma dana matikilu tianario tiengara chet ikin game aguma matiki tuo marera danane kom karne dong ene tika tute megwa kolutiana rio ma eno nyalogi kicho rio ma pat ento guwego en wagom timman wego tuan teach ma tektuan kimile la wino daga ma wayo to matie min aguma mole ene tika yele ki gwa kolutiana man
tin piron bergan bege when you come to man bebe ag bar pe bar pang ga ti man lo bien be char gan ti center mar ka ke me kan le tin man tin nan ki kwanya e da ko char kwanya tin bar re ga tin ni ke ye ba gwa an ti ti a ti gwa kan na ro kwanya ti an na kwanya ti an me o ti an ki ro wan ti an ma ti ro wan
John Uola, one com LC1 me Jenny Village, Matie Pai Cho Chap County Guru District, Wajani Team Machal Kitman, Tiem Rachutuan, Dak Bene Meguman Chica Denuchan, Kigwako Lutiano Panyare.
Kai Nana Chiel Tiki Lutiana Rio, Un Lutiana Rio, and Cha Moikan Weho. Dak Bene Dano Keta in America, Guak Ma Babian, and I Pomer need bed command.
Anywar,
Enoni, Malupa Lutiana Rio Mono, no, Joy Bear Pede. Mabe no ngata mo amiro gwape eni raja dede raj mede
Chicho ane kingewi
ngi ne bete ngara chil mo ke bingi chi ore yo pe wa kombeti me ber kan mo kan ni e o ma komme la tiana tiri matieni en wajni chwa ngatu mi ijane tie pai bona mero ber chi adek ma ke lo popiano ber ke mirni ten la tiano chi do mata o penyo ne ni latine mono ino ni a wana te pai bona nye Musa oh nye Musa te pai bona
Ento William Uvoya Kantila LC5 me Pai Cho Chap County Maene Benetit la Lupkola do at Gamente Mete der me Guru District Uchayo ma tektutan Tim Pacho Machal Kitman
Watega wenyo lo mapol ket macho mati ken gang gitega timekere ikomon mano giteki pero mo meto which ki dan mo magede tuo mo machalo tuo alili matuo me epilepsy magen waro dano en ni ki ka dong dan ni dong no ketero dong gen ki wego ma me ba mi la bol I chwaro me go makelo ni uma ma en te tuo me alili man tuo epilepsy la cho mo mero mi nwaro tinan chalo nwal kere ti ma la ten ti ma goro ma da mano dong te ke lo baden ke miana ma miana berak ti goro dan en kawa nui oy mari wala bo chera be mari ber in kemme ki latini gwa ko mabe bane kay nan in na jwa ni ti tamoni mer tim ma in ngi tam ni me yumu I ti wan chera be kemme ki ri wano be kele lo mi cher bo be tuyo ber in be vuj ber ngi ni jone en be mer ki nyale
Caroline Rose Adong Matie Kantila Madaga Machung Pidana Magitika Kwaki Ngolo Igamente Mete der me Gulu Chiti Wajani Koko Machal Kitman Dong Gino Mapol Tutal
Igamente Nyungar Monkar Germanem the Mora Chacotin Mane Me Ake compare Emily Ye Kubeta take a name dog, dear the Gulu set a kind,
Lungola kita kamiata kiam kiam lungola ke kiam ke. Ino lungola ma la ding ir. Madak kita kamiata lungola ma la ding ir ma la jo. Ino ma la tawang wana kumama te kamiata lungola la wara. Wayam ngola me dul kumana ma wara me tiama lo physical. Nyono kamodo kumi. Petika tit marwate kiapa miar dul kumuti kere gitika mata ma yo achen ma ngano ni gitika tit kere me joka ki kum awon ma gitika nongone ikiampe
Adong o wajane picho po peroman lungolo bene gen gitika yenyo yo me atima.
wan wangeyo chiri Uganda kan wa ikarti iram we yare ma iri jala wanga lok ma iri tayar ne piang petum ne achi anu me tika wear no biar transfer beti ko ni ki weite chadan chi no ni dong pe yo mukene wan wo tika kupe ki dul ma pe jenga ki kamanda afoi ni gulu siete kan pol pagem dul ma ki woni kompone samaritan tika tielo kogi tika chulu teo gi kamkwan mukene ke welo ngom ke yogo igi ori
En kono kok ni peroman tika bieno bien ni lupajo kamano la cho a ki ye ene pul kar gen ki kat ki chach ka gi piu la cho me weko dagma tiki ngolo mano eno nom chochok eni ikar ma tika tero la weno ma wae dong pegani wa ad ma gen gi berie ka chel ki odi padan mo kene mano tene kwet game man omedo pego gi amedam Ismail Jacob Jones be one luo television igulu district.
Okay, fine. Mono en lok mu katika Kenya eni lok menywar ko mon tuwale matiki ngolo mono ki Gulu City en chal na nen pat o wajo kere ni lok eni pe mulu ku mon mati Gulu ken but it's something matika time I Uganda long ami ben la po pa mon mapol mati I Kampala streets me Kampala enani most cases no ni mon matiki ngolo ke penyo gino gitiki each and ke penyo gi in most cases wegilo tia tika kwene nyo nga mono mati responsible for the pregnancy and gi wen jom kene kitwono gi teach just because it giti disabled jom kene gi nywar gi dog teach ento ana for one thing that with most of the corporate companies and of course government institutions chala mekwa enemy inoni kai tika join gi penyi ni gwa tiki ngola mo ni yes ka kwene ka kwe working yo konkit magi konyi kere but there's also another issue me no ni beneti the government I mean the places of work ma bene peke kero wa stairs ramps ma momiero jo matiki ngolo ene karkere a lot of things about violation of rights per disabled persons with disability.
Well, Sarah mero wachi wiye ni mia chel toro toero pamon matiki ngolo chake iyo me berupe ke ware komge. Any woman kono langolo kono peki ngolo just deserves respect. That's number one. Ka ini waro dagone nyo ini waro dago mo ke kene ngere kenyo then you're respecting anyone just like your sister and your mother. Eto ka don waro bo berupe then we have these people who go on to misuse our girls and our sisters. Me and real sexual violation, your sexual abuse, iket me voro, nyo me bedi art. Mon matike ngolo, pangeyo, ket magen gitamo kwede, ento pol pa cho, maberu kwede gini, giner na chalo mon leng di wo keken, idi cheng ni chalo pigi leng. Because ini di wo, imero beru kingare mon lipe chero gange, I bar ket ma leng kwede, I beru kwede, I nywalo kwede. Ero kado o idi cheng, you are not anywhere in the image.
Yes.
That one, it has a psychological impact, and then it also has a mental relation. Mati matek madani. We give it chung manote mati. Already you are damaging somebody's brain. La cho ni biro bora di work kenni. tamongo la chone pe biro ka konye di ching tamongo just like any other woman ka inde ye bedo ke dago money ba you must be available in their life or in the moments magitika mete yeni ana chero yat ner money. I was covering one of the stories ma a seriously crippled woman kitia ke wheelchair chware biro bero ko de wo dagno no icho era peto erwa beri wheelchair miter ko yo yat. And when I went to hospital and kirete wanyani one people don't know the issue of inclusion. An inclusive society, an inclusive hospital must have the ramps, must have accessible beds. Accessible beds are any kitana makangarmo bino matike ngolo kichor to the level of the wheelchair. Enon kobo winga e we ginani kanoke ilunga ke ilo kavoro ene. And you know what the nurse said? Why ni cha me voro ero kavoro kini?
Yes, Christo.
Monday me
Moro kileba suit.
Kileba suit.
Goodness.
Chami ero kavoro mi voro kini. Man kubede bini chami niki konyi. That was very negative. And you can imagine if the stigma goes to people who are educated.
But I mean, if there was a documentation of such a nurse or a medical officer, that person should have been sacked immediately.
Actually, whatever you're saying happened because the recording was there. And you know, like what happens. With me, it can't just go untouched. I had the recordings. I provoked a lot of debate. I did a lot of social media uproar. And medical action was taken. And I told them, you know what, the best thing is, this is not a fast. When you're saying accessible beds, we're taking more they cannot control their weight.
Yeah.
They also need the accessible beds. Don't think about the accessible beds in terms of people with disability. I can bring you my mother, Mano Petuero ward. We need an accessible bed. Manum kama mana Petuero ward, kirigini iepe, enta metano non kero, because by rights mamege, she's entitled to such kind of treatment.
But let me ask Kalito, we have legislatures in charge of people with disability in the Parliament of Uganda. And we are still hearing this plight. That's why, just like one day I said, what is the role of the youth MPs in the Parliament of Uganda if the youth of Uganda are still complaining or the issues to deal with unemployment, discrimination, segregation, unfair treatment at work, yet you have national MPs in charge of the youth. The same goes back to the members of, the disability community. They have their own representative.
Me and Miro watch before I came back again to work at One Low TV. I used to work as the communication officer for Mental Health Uganda. Pero madit mo atikwede ni jo matiki ngolo my nano physical disability. Gitam ne gene ngilo ngolo loy wang.
Pat, come on.
And that is a problem. Because you can see even the guys who are in parliament, even the representative of the guys with disability in parliament, look at the disability they're having. Do you think they could take somebody with a mental, psychiatric problem to
But
be?
if you have a psychiatric problem, then how are you going to talk?
If somebody,
someone is disabled, but they should be able to
if somebody
talk.
has a visual problem that he or she cannot see, do you think that person has chances to meet at the parliament? Because disability, we are cutting across visual, mental, psychological,
physical,
all these. Ento Anywar to wapene non peke tamani gena pera.
Chalo wano jo maru specs ni kono.
Now that is visual. Can take visual issues. Absolute visual impairments in way right, because you see, you can read.
But I am aided with this,
which is okay. That is not the worst level. I tell you what, you got now completely lost the sight and the nerves are not working. Who has to be in parliament needs to get a translator, needs to be provided with a braille. Now parliament will begin thinking into going into course of producing brailles. In fact, you need to reproduce the constitution. The whole constitution in braille. Those are expenses.
I remember.
Now, inclusion monematica wajeni loses meaning there and then. And that becomes a problem. You cannot implement what you cannot support.
So ideally, Pat is saying in a nutshell, if I quote from here, I quote you. Ni much has been watika waidi watiki lotela lumema me parliament ma representing jo ma gitiki giana disability ma papat. And to check me Uganda food pen food is not absolute. Gormanok. There's need to be an amendment on that. But as I wind up with you, ngoma gamete twero temo ka jogo tim aranye kom joma megu ene magitiki disability.
Mi achiel mi orkimete kifonyo dano iket mi war twero padano. Mi ario, people should own up for their responsibility. beru ngolo ngata mero pe kumela tika wot mabe accident romo time dire poni chiampe onyo dire no tiana pe. We are all candidates of disability.
Okay.
But the time has not yet come. So be mindful. What is in your neighbor's house could be in your house.
Oh yeah. Yes. Afo tutu almono part o